Austin, Texas. Early morning, the kind where the city is barely waking up, but one jewelry store wasn't opening that day. Instead of a bright open sign, people saw a handwritten note taped to the glass, temporarily closed. Right underneath flowers, a couple of cards. Someone had even left a little note. "We love you, Ted." If you didn't know the story, you might think the owner was sick, maybe on vacation. But the truth was darker, and it was already spreading through the news. A well-known Austin jeweler has been killed in what authorities are calling a home invasion. Deputies say they're searching for the shooter or shooters responsible. The man they were talking about was Ted Shaughnessy, owner of Gallery Jewelers. His shop was kind of a landmark in central Austin. Couples went there for engagement rings, families went there for heirlooms. Ted was the face of it all. Friendly, sharp, the guy you trusted when you were spending serious money. Now he was gone. The Shaughnesseys didn't just run a nice store, they had built a comfortable life in Cedar Valley, out on the west side. Big houses, quiet streets, lots of trees. Deer wandered around sometimes. It was the last place you'd expect a gunfight in the middle of the night. But that's exactly what happened. By the time the morning news hit, people in the area were stunned. A murder in Cedar Valley? Ted of all people? And the way it went down, brutal, senseless, didn't fit the picture at all. Some whispered it must have been a robbery gone bad. Others said maybe someone had a grudge, but nobody knew for sure. All they knew was a family had been torn apart and one of Austin's best-known jewelers was dead. And behind the whispers, one question was already forming. Who would want Ted gone? So here's how it all actually went down. It was March 2nd, 2018. Middle of the night, the kind of quiet where you can hear the air moving through the trees. Ted and his wife, Corey, were fast asleep in their Cedar Valley home. Nothing unusual, just another Friday morning waiting to happen. And then, woof, 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 one of their dogs started going nuts. Now, this wasn't totally normal. They lived in a nice, tucked-away area. Not much traffic, not a lot of noise. If a dog started barking at 4:30 a.m, you knew something was off. Ted checked the clock, rolled out of bed, and grabbed his gun. Makes sense. He was a jeweler. If anyone had a reason to be careful about burglars, it was him. He told Corey he'd check it out. Walked out of the bedroom. She figured it was maybe a deer in the yard, nothing serious. She started to drift back to sleep and then, bang! A single gunshot. Her eyes flew open. A moment later, more shots right outside the bedroom door. Corey's heart was hammering. She grabbed her own gun from the bedside drawer. The hallway was dark, but then a flash. A bright light, like someone shining a tactical flashlight straight at her. Then muzzle flashes, bullets flying. She fired back. Somehow nobody hit each other. It was chaos, flashes, echoes, and her dogs barking like crazy. And then, silence. Corey ran for the closet, clutching the phone, dialing 911. Her voice was frantic. "My husband's been shot. My dogs are barking. Shots fired. Please, help me." When she finally made it out of hiding, the scene was horrifying. Ted lay in the kitchen, dead. 4 bullet wounds. One of their dogs had also been killed. Another was cowering. And the shooters, gone. The police response was a mess. At first, they even went to the wrong house, the neighbours, before finally making it to the Shaughnesseys. By then, it was too late. The only things left behind, shell casings from 2 different guns, 2 shooters, a break-in through their son's window, and Ted Shaughnessy, a father, husband and jeweler shot dead in his own kitchen. Before we get deeper into the investigation, you kind of have to know who the Shaughnesseys were. Because on the surface, this didn't look like a family that should have had enemies. Ted and Corey Shaughnessy had been married for 30 years. Together, they built up Gallery Jewelers, this really nice upmarket jewelry store in central Austin. Ted was the face of it, the guy out front, charming customers, closing deals. Corey was the one behind the scenes, the appraiser, handling the technical side. It worked. Business was good. They had the house in Cedar Valley, one of those big, polished homes tucked into the quiet west side of town. Life looked solid. They also had one son, Nicholas. Nick wasn't their biological kid. They had adopted him from Russia when he was a baby. By 2018, Nick was 19, married to a girl named Jacqueline Edison, and living about 2 hours away in College Station, where she was studying at Texas A&M. So, from the outside, a loving couple, a successful store, a nice home, and a son starting his own family. Pretty picture, right? That's why what happened that night was so shocking. Because everyone who knew Ted and Corey described them as friendly, down-to-earth people. The kind you waved to at the grocery store, who'd help out a neighbour if you needed it. Not exactly the type to get tied up in some dangerous drama. But beneath that polished family photo, yeah, there were cracks. Cracks that would soon split wide open once the investigation started looking closer at Nick, his marriage, and their money problems brewing under the surface. So detectives are staring at this scene thinking, what the hell actually happened here? Ted's on the kitchen floor, 4 gunshot wounds, Corey's shaken, a dog's dead, and the house looks like it was broken into. But nothing was stolen. Jewellery? Still there. Cash? Still there. Electronics? Untouched. The only thing missing? A family handgun, and the window the intruders used? It wasn't just random. It was in Nick's old room. Their son. Turns out Nick admitted he'd used that window plenty of times when he was younger to sneak in and out, and so had his buddies. Cops immediately flagged that. Like, okay, whoever did this didn't just randomly pick that window. They knew it was the weak spot. So, theories start flying. Maybe a revenge thing. Years earlier, Ted had shot a guy during a pawn shop robbery. Maybe someone wanted payback. Or maybe it was Corey herself. I mean, the spouse always gets a look in cases like this. She stood to inherit $1 million in life insurance, plus the house, plus the store. That motive was sitting right there. But the longer they dug, the more things kept pointing back to Nick. See, on paper, Nick looked like a young guy figuring life out. Married to Jacqueline, living in College Station while she studied A&M. But behind closed doors, his life was falling apart. Nick had gotten obsessed with day trading and crypto. The whole I'll get rich in my 20s dream. His dad even handed him $30,000 to try it out. Instead of making him a genius investor, it made him broke. By 2018, Nick wasn't just failing at trading, he was flat out in debt. He even owed his mum $30,000 from a loan. And the way he handled it? Super sketchy. Both he and Jacqueline Factory reset their phones just weeks before the murder. Thought they were wiping everything clean. Problem was, Apple keeps stuff in iCloud, and the cops pulled the deleted messages right back. What did they find? Conversations about paying someone $50,000 to do something, which, yeah, didn't take a detective to figure out what that meant. It also turned out Nick had been shopping around for killers. He asked his best friend Spencer if he'd do it. He asked a woman at his apartment complex if she wanted to make some extra money. Could be stripping, could be murder, with 3 skull emojis just in case she missed the point. He even tried asking around movers he hired. Like, the guy wasn't slick. He was desperate. And eventually he found his takers. 2 furniture movers, Johnny Leon and Arian Smith. Nick gave them the missing gun, gave them ammo, and gave them the entry point through his old window. They waited until the house was quiet, snuck in, and the rest you already know. Ted dead, Corey barely escaping. When cops finally sat Johnny and Arian down, their interviews couldn't have been more different. Johnny was stone cold, no emotions, just, yeah, I was there, yeah, I fired shots. Arian, on the other hand, broke down, said he begged Johnny to leave that night, said he couldn't sleep after, and even asked for the death penalty because he felt he deserved to die for what he did. But either way, the damage was done. These weren't shadowy assassins from some underworld. They were just regular guys roped in by a spoiled kid who couldn't handle losing money. And Nick, he wasn't some mastermind. He was just a broke crypto bro who thought murder was a shortcut to cash. Jacqueline "Jackie" Edison, Nick's wife, wasn't exactly innocent. She helped cover for him, even gave a check to the killers, $1,000, which is wild. But here's the thing, she never actually pulled the trigger. When it came time for consequences, she got probation instead of prison. Part of it was the law seeing her as more of a side player, Part of it was luck, and maybe some courtroom leniency. She eventually divorced Nick, distancing herself from the whole nightmare. Nick Shaughnessy ended up getting 35 years in prison for murder. The two movers, Johnny and Arian, also got 35 years each. Arian, the one who seemed genuinely shaken, had asked for the death penalty but didn't get it. Corey, the mum, was cleared. She never killed anyone. Justice in the legal sense came down hard on the actual perpetrators and the son who orchestrated it. At the end of the day, it all came down to money and greed. Nick's obsession with day trading, losing money, wanting his parents' life insurance, and trying to cover his failures drove him to plan the unthinkable.
Was directly asked you to kill his parents? Yes. He said, after my parents go, I will have $8 million.
I'm not going to sit here and say that I didn't do this. I'm not going to play a victim card. I most certainly played my role, and I wholeheartedly regret it.